Thank you for joining us today. I call the September 15th, 2022 Human Rights Commission to order. Let's begin with an introduction of commission members, please. Whichever.
Hamida, Commission.
Matura Lear, member.
Ahmed Shale, Vice Chair.
Cody Severson, Chair.
Barry Nelson, member.
Cheryl Schafel, member.
Sarah Boonstoppel, member.
Denise Kolpak, liaison.
Thank you, folks. The next item is to approve the agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda, adding an extra item to update the commission on Dr. Mlk Day?
So moved.
I second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Mission carried. Motion carried. The next item is to approve the minutes of the August 18th, 2022 meeting.
So moved.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Next up is public comment. Those who wish to address the Human Rights Commission must use the sign-in sheet. Speakers must state their name and will be limited to 2 minutes. Comments should not contain profanity or personal attacks. Staff, do we have anyone signed up for public comment?
The next one.
Okay. Can we have the names one at a time? No. Wes,
If there's anyone on the audience that would want it to speak.
oh, sorry about. Thank you.
Wes Philomay, he, him, his pronouns. I'd like to start by saying long live George Floyd and Anue Magic. If you look around this room, there's nobody here. I did not come here to speak during public comment. I came here to have a conversation with you all. With the fact that no one in this community attends these meetings, if someone feels compelled enough to show up here for something important enough to engage you, they shouldn't be restricted by a time limit. So if we're gonna have a conversation, let's have a conversation, but I won't do so restricted by 2 minutes. So if y'all want to stop the clock, we can totally have a conversation, because I asked to have an item added to the agenda and that opportunity was not afforded to me, and so here I am.
If I may, to the attorney here today, I'm sorry, turn on the microphone. Can we forego the time? Wes, do you know how much time you need?
I would just like to engage you all in a conversation on a very important agenda item that, you know, me and you have kind of discussed. I also shared with Cody as well. And I think several members are under the impression that I was going to be able to discuss said item, not under the guise of public comment.
Okay, are you bringing a proposal, an official proposal?
That literally was my plan, and I shared that with Cody, and I don't know what conversations occurred through the city, but I was not afforded the opportunity to bring the proposal forward.
Okay, I think the recommendation was it would be, the place was in public comments, but I haven't seen the actual proposal. Cody, if you have seen that either, I haven't seen the details.
Right, yeah, so basically, I had a conversation with Cody over the phone explaining what I was looking for in detail. He told me he would get back to me. A day later, I had not heard from him. I reached back out asking what was going on, and then I was told that, you all would like to hear more and that I would be allowed to speak during public comment. So
Okay.
That's what I was given.
Okay, well, this is your time. So do you want to share what you want to share with this commission?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Kolpak. So I guess there's a frustration, being that this has been for the longest the Human Relations Commission. A body that can be very beneficial, but also very detrimental to the BIPOC community. It's my belief that, in essence, that this body has not done much in way of protecting our community, providing opportunities for our community, addressing concerns that plague our community in the city of Fargo, and in not doing so, from the outside looking in, it would appear that, a city that has a human relations commission has an accountability piece in the community. But this board has not been that. This board does not challenge our city government in the name of the people. Every one of you are directly appointed by the mayor, and that in itself limits the ability of this board to be able to truly challenge the powers that be, to have the uncomfortable conversations that are necessary in order to progress within this community. And during this time, there are so many people suffering in our community, and they don't come here. The fact that you all are comfortable enough to attend these meetings where no one in this community shows up, that's tragic. Where is the outreach? Where is the let's make sure the community knows that we're here and can reach out to us and that we will fight on their behalf? The Netterville family just lost someone tragically 2 months ago. And you know who's been by their side every single day, attending the funeral, making sure the family is okay? It's not the Human Relations Commission. It's been us as everyday people who have to work and put in 40 plus hours. I'm currently unemployed and looking for a job, but here I am. Faith is receiving death threats and struggling because we're the two people always at the forefront actually fighting for human rights. And then you guys change your name to the Human Rights Commission. So now you're digging yourself in deeper. Well, what does that mean and where does that go? What standard are we setting when we say that this is something that we're going to take on? You all are a diverse group. You all represent a lot of people without voices in the community, and we're supposed to rely on you to be our voice. And that just continually doesn't happen. There's a standard here that is completely lacking. So I just want to start there, and it's not an attack. It's just acknowledging what is truly present. Now, with that being said, the initiative that I would like to push forward, that I would like to see voted on today, not tomorrow, not next month, because there is a piece. Shane Netterville, human rights were violated. His human right to live, to breathe, to exist was taken away from him in a matter of 40 seconds of Fargo PD arriving on scene. There's been absolutely no transparency whatsoever throughout this entire time. The way the family has been treated, they had to wait 3 weeks just to see the body of the person they loved, okay? They had to wait over a month just to bury him. What would you guys feel like if that was your family? Who else would be treated like this in this community? A month. And then to wait for answers almost 2 months. And when it's time for them to get answers, they're called to City Hall an hour before the information is going to be made public. An hour before the city and the state is going to show everyone their family member being murdered. They're given less than an hour to process that. And not only that, when they're there and they have support of the people who have been with them since day one, we're not allowed in the room to support them. But the mayor is allowed. And when the family asks the mayor, why are you allowed in the room? You know what the mayor says to them? Because I have a victim in this. And you know when the brother asked who the victim was, you know what the mayor said? The officer who killed his brother. Where are you all when members in the community, BIPOC members in the community, are being treated like that? And then 45 minutes later, they have to watch everyone in this community watch their brother get murdered and they have no time to process it. And then the media is reaching out to them, everyone's reaching out to them. Their mental health is completely degraded. Why are you guys here if you aren't truly fighting to push forward for people that need it the most? Here's what I'm asking for, is a simple recommendation. Attorney Drew Wrigley completely oversold what happened on that body camera footage. He's up for election in November. If he were to prosecute that officer, there is zero chance he's going to win that election. So he got up there and did what he was supposed to do in order to make sure that he gets his position, because he's already in it. The chief is going to lose his department if he prosecutes that officer. And so they did what they were supposed to do. They said the car drove towards the officer when the officer was standing on the side of the vehicle. No one tried to de-escalate the situation. Fargo PD has little to no de-escalation training. No one said, hey guys, we're just here to figure out what's going on. We got a call that 3 people were dead. We're just trying to figure it out. They screamed and screamed and screamed and screamed, pinned them in a vehicle, in a garage, and once they drove forward, they shot and killed the man. I'm asking for you guys to recommend to the city to hire an independent firm, an unbiased firm, where you all will get to play a role in who that firm is. Research firms to ensure that they're not cop-loving firms, nor are they firms who go out and render other, it's not to say, oh, the cop should be charged. It's to say, somebody died in this community. What can we do better in order to prevent this from happening again? Why? Because 3 weeks later, Andrew Martinez was also murdered by Fargo PD. And he was also a BIPOC person as well. And so if we aren't able to implement within this process accountability pieces and checks and balances, then we're always going to get these unjust and unfair opinions. And so you all would just have to recommend to the city commission that we hire a firm, play a role in it. We have a DEI here, have him play a role in it. And you guys ensure on behalf of us as the public that that firm is a good one. And then they'll review the 911 calls, they'll review the body camera footage, and they'll come back and say, hey, this is what we think. Because that officer walked right across the front of the vehicle. Tactically speaking, he should have never done that. He was in a position of safety on the side of the garage. He didn't wait for backup. They had to come running behind him. He fired a shot on the passenger side of the vehicle that could have killed the person in the passenger seat, that killed the driver, that could have killed the 2 Fargo police officers who were right behind the driver. Tactically, he should have never did that. He made a lot of mistakes. There was negligence that led to the loss of life. And so I'm asking you guys to recommend a motion right to the city to have an independent body provide us with actual feedback on what happened and how we can do better to prevent Fargo citizens from dying at the hands of Fargo PD. Because from the looks of it, it's trending up, and you guys are now our human rights board, and it's your job to protect our human rights. And this would be protecting our human rights. So I just had a really hard time understanding why it was so hard for me to get this on the table for you guys. So thank you for allowing me to speak, and I can stay up here for any questions or any conversations that you guys would want to talk about further.
Chairman Cody, I think we've got your recommendation, Wes. I think now it's up to the commission to take it under advisement, and Cody, I'll let you decide how you want to manage the next step with this recommendation, and maybe, The problem is there are unknown things about this recommendation that would have implications, bringing it to the city commission. So I would think that one of the diligent responses to your request would be to do some due diligence and bring back a recommendation for consideration to this commission after there's more conversation. But that's up to the commission. That's just a thought. There's also coordination with the Police Advisory Committee
Right,
as well.
right. Are we able to have dialogue?
You can have, yes, there can be dialogue here. One of the reasons, when, you know, it's in the work plan, right? Is to hear citizen comment and issues. That's one of the primary responsibilities of this commission.
So, do we have dialogue up here that we want to have?
Could I ask, as long as we have Wes at the podium, do you have any, and I mean, this could be research independently, but do you have an independent firm that you would know of that would fill this role?
I've done some research and I've purposely avoided doing so, just because I am a prominent activist, and I'd hate to influence it in any way where people would say that whatever firm, there needs to be a clear-cut sign of independence. And
Okay.
so, yes, I'm avoiding that.
Okay, thank you.
So I'm trusting you guys. Because I believe that whatever comes back as far as advice, if they come back and say, hey, they handled it 100% perfectly, I am fully and willing and ready to accept that. So I'm trusting that you guys will do the work to really, find a good board that you believe to be just, not one that people are going to come back and say, oh, you all chose this board because you knew that this was, the feedback that they would give. So I'm putting the trust in you all and our DEI.
Thank you, Wes, for bringing it up. And my thought on this is to Cody, we can designate one member of our commission with you and Wes, and then you can draw that recommendation and bring it back to our next meeting for approval to go to the city commission. That's what I think. We can't just move a motion right now, not knowing what the process are. You're very clear with your message, and I sympathize with that and the family as well. Because if we don't do anything right now, this could be us tomorrow.
And I just want to say that, with timing wise, there's also the Andrew Martinez case where he was in a mental health crisis. And from what I'm understanding, the negotiators literally told the family they couldn't communicate with him in order to talk him down. And they left that up completely to the negotiator. And that also went terribly bad with Shane Netterville while he was fighting for his life 4+ hours in the hospital. No one even found a way to try and reach out to the family to get them to the hospital to be there. And so there's also additional pieces that I think that you all can look at. I think this whole thing needs to be looked at. I will say this needs to be an absolute priority for you guys, not something that, at the end of this meeting, you all go home and pick it back up a month from now, because time really is of the essence. I think that outside of here, if you all are going to say you can't recommend a motion today, then I would ask that you guys, outside of this meeting, including today, make this a priority to abide by whatever laws you need to. I know that Barry works on several initiatives outside of this commission that he brings back, but whatever you all need to do to have those conversations diligently in the next week or two or whatever case, and even maybe reach out to the Oversight Committee so that there's cross communication. Dr. Terry has both boards under his purview. Maybe he can be the person that distributes that information back and forward. But I think that it would be much stronger to say that the Oversight Committee and the Human Rights are both saying, we think that this is something that would be fair to do, not just for Shane Netterville, but also for Andrew Martinez. I think that this is something that should honestly be standard if we're going to have checks and balances, that it's not when somebody's killed by the cops, we know that the cops are going to protect themselves, because if they admit to fault, then there's litigation and so much that they're opened up to. So naturally, they're going to do whatever they can to justify it. But in a just city, there should be that independent review that comes back and provides you guys and the community with proper feedback that we should all be able to accept, because we trust in that process. So I would say that in coming up with the recommendation, that I think it should include the Shane Netterville murder and the Andrew Martinez case. And so the recommendation should be that the firm should be able to review both of those cases and provide proper feedback.
So I think the action now is we will take it under, and I don't mean to speak for you, Chair. Go ahead.
I actually would like to just briefly sort of contribute. If the ask is we need to review this process, then I want to just put out there that I agree with that. I think that any time that we have these kinds of cases in our communities, it's alienating, right? It's alienating to communities that are already alienated and oppressed. And we've been moving, it sounds like, as a city to trying to be less alienating, to bring communities in, to build trust and transparency and the opportunity to fix problems and to reconsider conclusions, I think, is an important part of that. And I think that it would be important to figure out how we can do this better as a city, because I mean, this is never going to get better if we don't do it better. Yeah, that's all I've got. I do think that having some understanding of the process and how we can do it better so that it is less alienated and more trust building is certainly important.
Thank you.
Wes, thank you for coming and sharing that story. One thing I will say is I'll recommend to the team here to look into this. As you said, it's time sensitive. So Cody, if we can meet out of here just like an hour and have this conversation. But before that, we need to reach to the Police Oversight Committee and see what they're doing or how far they are. And then I think this will be a conversation to start in a week or so. So again, thank you for coming. And I agree with you that as a member, we haven't done much. And there's so much going on that we need to be present and being active. But thank you for doing that on behalf of us. And we're gonna ace up our game and do better by the people who we represent.
Thank you, Hamida. And I will just share this. As far as the Oversight Committee, basically what happened with them is they were not provided body camera footage. They weren't provided anything in advance of their meeting. They basically showed up and Fargo PD put together, their thing to justify what happened. And then they played it for them, explained why they thought they were justified, and then asked the committee if they had any questions. And so that's all that they got. They weren't actually given time before the meeting to look at the footage, analyze it, and then, come up with any questions. They just came in here, played the video on the board, and then right there on the fly, they had to figure out if they had any questions. And then at the same time, when they would ask a question, the family was here, the police officer would start the video over so he could get to the point of where the question was in the body camera footage. And so the family member would he would press play from the beginning, let it go through to get to the point. And so the brother of Shane Netterville probably watched his brother get shot 6 times over and over and over again during the Oversight Committee. So there was like no individual cuts and they didn't go to specific points. They just kept replaying it and then getting to different points. And so I think that I appreciate you saying that, Hamida. I think that the awareness of this board needs to start focusing more and challenging this city more. Don't be afraid to challenge the establishment, because you all are doing that on our behalf. And so you have to, because there's so many of us who don't have a voice in this community. So when you speak up for us. You speak up for the people who look like you. You speak up for the people who don't look like you. You speak up for the people who don't have a voice in this community. That's why I'm here, and that's why you all are here. And I think it's really time that you all seriously start to embrace that challenge. Thank you, guys.
Go ahead, Barry.
I guess I would say, having myself watched the body cam and then being present at the Advisory and Oversight Committee, that I recognize the process left me wanting more. I felt it provoked more questions than answered. So I'm in that position, and I don't know if it would help to move this forward. I mean, I'd be willing to make a motion that we move this forward, so that we are in record to say we're.
Yeah.
So I guess I would just, that we make a motion that we move forward in looking at the process of responding to a request to bring in an independent investigator involving the Police Advisory and Oversight Committee and the DEI Director in the process.
I'll second that.
Okay, open for discussion. So,
You need to also add into proposing a recommendation to the City Commission.
You'd like to add that to the motion?
To the motion, yeah.
Sure, I would accept that amendment or addition.
I will second.
Okay, so then up for discussion on that entirety then.
So what is it, I'll just add, is that a friendly amendment, or are you voting on the amendment first and then the full motion? Friendly amendment?
Yeah.
There's an agreement, so you'll restate it with that addition? Okay, then you can open it up for discussion as the first motion.
Yeah.
Correct, City Attorney? Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
No, everything I wanted to say, everyone else said, was thank you so much for even having the courage to always show up and speak for everyone that suffered in the community, because if everyone stays silent, nothing is seen. So thank you.
Two thoughts that I had so again, going back to the Police Oversight and Advisory Commission, with this, I really just hope that we're able to tighten up as well how we collaborate and actually following, because I know I had watched that meeting as well. At the end of it, they proposed more questions on how they wanted to push forward as a commission, which isn't entirely helpful to the case, but still necessary to the process. So us actually with Dr. Hogan figuring out how we're gonna make that happen within the next month then, within the next few weeks, if you will. So we'll meet on that. And then another side note, so the Fargo Police Department used to align themselves a lot more with the RISC team from Southeast Human Service Center. And they used to go out into the community with either counselors or just mental health practitioners from Southeast to kind of piggyback off of each other to help out more. And I don't know what happened to that, or if that's still a thing, but it's definitely a question that I would like to, in future meetings, bring up with the Fargo Police Department presence here and just delve into that a little bit further. So just for future meetings. But so, any other discussion based on this motion?
First of all, I'd like to thank Wes also for coming and speaking with us today and bringing this up. My question would be, how are we going to look at the discussion and examining and doing what we need to do? It won't necessarily be able to be with our commission as a whole, because we have quorum issues and things like that. My recommendation would be that we appoint a committee to work on it, so that we have individuals who are actually, meeting and talking about the issues and what we can do and the possibilities. And once we set up the committee, it can't be enough so that we have a quorum. But the other thing, it would be important that the committee or whoever talks about it actually makes reports to all of the commission while they're in the process, so that we all are informed of what is happening. because I think it's too often that things do come up that we are not all informed about. Yeah.
Yep. Can I
And-
say, I'm sorry, didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, and I was just going to be totally something different and say, hey, Wes, como oye?
What does that mean?
I'm done.
I was just going to add, that was the intention of taking it under advisement, was to figure out those kinds of things. Quorum is an issue. What's the best approach here, and working with the advisory committee. So appreciate those comments. Thank you.
Okay, so now all in favor of the motion? Say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, so next item then, yes.
We're still on a public comment.
Oh, I apologize. Yes, Faith.
You got to get on a microphone.
Please.
Get recorded.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry about that. I just wanted to know what the steps are, the protocol and getting things on the agenda. I was very saddened to see that Wes did go through the steps that were told to us. And again, not getting clear answer, going up through the chain, through the city commission upstairs, and then it just stops right there. So maybe you guys can discuss how that is so that other people that have these same concerns can go about getting things on the agenda and not have to go through public comment or input. That is important for us as citizens to be able to, if this is open, right? How do we get it put on the agenda if we have things, and that it will not be shut down by city government because they just don't want to hear it or like us to speak. So I would like you all to discuss that and get that back to the public so that if this does happen in the future, that we have those steps. Thank you.
I share that concern. Thanks, Faith.
Thank you. Go ahead, Cody.
No, I actually, what is the prescribed method?
I think in the past, like when they reach out to me, I would reach out to Kidland to get it on the agenda. In this case, I think it would be
Kimber?
Kimber and
Kimber,
Dr.
yeah.
Hogan.
Kimber.
You know, it's actually Dr. Hogan staffs this commission, so it
Commission,
would
yeah.
be working with Dr. Hogan and the chair.
And the chair to get that on the agenda.
Oh, okay.
I just wanted to ask Dr. Hogan, is there a reason why agendas will not get into the city commission? Is there a reason? Because if they reach out to the office and stuff did not reach to us, what are you going to do about it, and why is that even happening? Why can public not bring the issue to us?
I'll take it up on the advisement. I hear what you're saying. I'll make note of it and I'll look into it. Yeah.
I just have one thing. It looks like it's going up. So Cody emailed it, and that's what we're supposed to do as the public, is to email the chair. Am I correct? And then it went up to Kimber. So when did it get to Dr. Terry, or did it come to you, Dr. Terry?
Like, I can answer to that. Like before, because we used to have like a meeting to put the agenda together. I think there's a Friday after not this Friday, but I think it will be the following Friday to get things for the next meeting, to get the agenda put together and all that stuff. And that's where the discussion will come through. Do you have anything, Cody? Do you have anything, Dr. Terry, as the staff? Do you have anything that we need to add to the agenda?
I just want to make sure, Mature, that moving forward, that we won't have any confusion, because it is very disheartening if you're taking those steps, right? And I might be afraid, so I'm doing those steps, and then it gets to a certain department, and then they don't want to hear about it, or they don't want you to speak, and so they just cut you off. And so I just want to make sure that we are all aware of, if people are making the attempt to put things on the agenda or having the time to come and take off of work, that it doesn't get, pushed on someone's desk and someone just leaves it and not follow through. And that's kind of what happened to Wes, that he was asked to be put on the agenda, and like everything else, people, I've been on this agenda many of times over Juneteenth and MLK days and things like that with no problem. But when we really come to talk to you about serious issues that are happening within the community, it gets, pushed to the side. So just if those steps could be just maybe put on the website, maybe that you probably will get more people wanting to speak with you if we had some way to notify the public, these are the steps that you can take. Thank you.
Thank you.
My recommendation would be that, first of all, we need to determine what the appropriate steps are so that there's an actual process in place. And second is, once the process is decided, once we have a standard operating procedure, that we make sure that we get it put onto our website so that I don't know how many people go to our website to get information for what we do, who we are, when we meet, but that information would be put there because that's probably the one place where information about our commission is centered.
I just want to add, I actually think that there were steps created at some point in preparing for our meeting today. I dug around on the website and found some old minutes from maybe 2020 or 2019. That was, here's how to communicate things. I can't recall now if it was from the community into the commission or if it was within the commission, but there was some really, and again, I looked at it like 6 o'clock this morning when I was still drinking coffee. So, but I think that something exists in our previous minutes and reports that predate me. So that's not very helpful, but other than to say, I think it's out there, and I think that I might have saved it to a folder. I can see if I can dig up the date on that, if that's helpful. But I think something.
I think that should be something we looked at in our next meeting as well, when we're planning what's the agenda is for the fall of the time.
May I add a clarifying question or just comment here? Thank you. I think we're talking about two things here. I just want to be sure that I'm understanding what we're being asked to do for the next meeting to report back to the community. I think this commission is different, and then one of the roles of this commission is to hear about public issues. So I think we need to revisit how does this commission take public comment in a more meaningful way, which is one side of the issue, right? And then there is the process of getting specific actionable items or requests on the agenda, which is a different kind of process. And also just to clarify, Kimber's the assistant that puts and executes on the agenda after the staff assigned working with the chair determine what the agenda will be. So I just wanted to clarify that as well. But I think this commission should be charged with how do we take public comment in a meaningful way that is different from the city commission. It's one of the reasons it was formed. Thank you.
Yeah, and to add to that too, thanks for bringing that up to our attention too, because I kind of noticed too, we having a meeting request sent in 2 days prior to the meeting. But in the past, what we do, we get the agenda ready 2 weeks prior to the meeting and asking for the quorum. And within a week, if we don't get enough response for the people that will show up, we'll have to cancel the meeting. Or I'll make some phone call to the commissioners member to respond if they will be at the meeting. So I think if we could get back to that process of having the agenda 2 weeks prior to the meeting and also sending out the calendar invite as well, then the email, I think we'll probably have more and better response.
Okay. Thank you, folks. Next up is talking about the flyers that were around the Woodrow Wilson school area, and I know I think Dr. Hogan, can you help me out with an update on that?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, the only thing that happened is that when the flyers circulated around the Woodrow Wilson apartment complex, I was notified of that. And basically, WDAY had given me a call, and basically I did an interview denouncing that on the behalf of human rights, the city of Fargo, the mayor, et cetera. And, that's all the update is that I have right now, is that I did denounce it.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. And yeah, I know that it was just like the Patriot font flyers that had gone around, so, okay.
And what was the flyers about?
It was something in regards to Patriot Front. It was hate speech.
Oh,
And
it's
it
the
was
same
put on,
thing.
and
This-
it was put on all the cars in the Woodrow Wilson apartment complex, from my understanding.
Was it the same thing that had happened to International Market too?
Yeah, absolutely.
In the shower
Absolutely.
center?
I think.
You know, I can't speak on that behalf. I was told, in fact, is that they had come up, well, is that the window was broken. And the first half of that I had heard is that it was a gunshot. And I had gone over to take a view of it and so forth. And apparently there's rocks on the side of the building. It seemed as though somebody had thrown a rock. And there's two panes of glass, I'm sorry. And what it did, it broke the outside glass, but not the interior glass. And so that's where that stood at that, at this point. So we don't know if, in fact, if it was a hate situation or not. I was asking about that, and so we can't be sure.
For the
But we
shower
do
center?
know,
How
yeah.
about the International Market?
Well, on the international market, they wrote Patriot Front on the side of the building. And so with that being said, but also too, they, from my understanding, they took pictures. These individuals came on the inside of the international market. And supposedly the camera has pictures of individuals with cameras in their hand taking pictures of the inside of the building, And so right now is what we are trying to do is recover. I've been talking to FACIA, if you will. We are bringing, a bunch of people together, trying to recover from this. And basically, I immediately denounced that as well, because we just won't have that in the city of Fargo.
And just to clarify, the graffiti on the outside of the building was not just on the building, it defaced artwork, valuable.
It was on the
locally
artwork
produced
too, on the
Yeah.
outside of the building.
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
There are at
I'm
least
not- I'm
12,
sorry?
there's at least 12 stencils along the length of the building.
Yeah. And apparently, from my understanding, they tried to put duct tape over the Patriot Front on the outside. And supposedly someone came during the night, and pulled it off. So it was a consistent thing. So these are some of the things that we're grappling with right now. But over the weekend, Sunday at 3 p.m., we are going to go out and support and do what we can to clean up a lot of that, graffiti on the side of the building.
And then there's video cameras that capture
Not on the side of the building, but on the inside.
on the inside. Okay.
Yeah.
And so then I think we'll also just look to Officer Christie for next month to see if we have any updates on anything that's come out of the investigation on that then. Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome. Okay.
Okay, so the next up is we wanted to have at least a small discussion on the strategic plan that we had moving forward, the work plan that we'd worked on a little bit prior to Dr. Hogan being here. We wanted to kind of continue that work, so if people knew which area they wanted to delve into, we'll just talk about that. Open for discussion.
I was trying to remember which of the 3 points that I was on earlier. I think,
I know I was on the first and I really
We were-
enjoyed that.
yeah. So I think we almost like we're starting from ground zero here because my memory completely fails me, but I
I
would,
can pass down.
I would be interested in going back to, I think, were we on group 3?
We were group 3, you and I and Hanita.
But and I think a lot of work needs to be done. I think we struggled identifying exactly what that point 3 was and
Yes.
what we were to be doing, and we kept running into group 2. Anyway, so I think there are a lot that we need to work at getting it specific and
Kind of
drill
like we
down.
decided before we could do what our task was, that there were other steps that needed to be done first, and I can't think of exactly what they were right now.
And then I guess alongside that, it's also deciding, so, because you made a motion to create a separate, like, subcommittee to look at the other work and whether or not that's going to be like goal 4 strategic plan instead. But so do you just want to maybe take some time next meeting, maybe like a half hour or so, to actually like have a discussion down there about this?
Yeah,
Have a discussion.
could do that.
Okay. So just knowing that going forward at next month's meeting, we're gonna go down there and actually talk about this and delve out responsibilities.
I just want to say that this was my first time looking at this work plan after our last meeting, and I'm kind of excited about like what's here and all of the work that you guys did long before I got here. So, good
good.
job, guys. Well, let's work on it.
Nicole Crutchfield helped out and Caitlin Christie a lot with this.
Yes, this is
before.
very well organized.
So yeah.
I might need to get a copy. It's
Okay.
It is.
So next up, we're gonna hear from. Can we get an update, please, on the race exhibit and the
Absolutely.
initiatives we have going on?
Absolutely. Well, the race exhibit has basically garnered quite a few individuals. They've come through and read and had, their listening circles and so forth. We were only supposed to have it here for one more month, which was this month. However, we called the YWCA and they have extended that until possibly the end of October. And so with that being said, we want to be able to get school children out and so forth, just to educate as much as possible. So this is where we are with that particular exhibit in the atrium.
Has anybody? Because I know I went and saw it with a friend of mine earlier, and I thought it was a really fun, great thing to have just kind of in the entryway there, because we don't have anything else really that goes over that stuff. So that was nice. Any other comments on it? Okay. And then, so we also want to go over an update on Dr. Mlk Junior Day as well.
Okay, well, as it stands right now, we're going to put a pause on the choir that I was going to bring in from out of state. There was a little bit of concern with that. However, we're going to go more so locally, if you will. We're going to look at reach partners, use them, as a point of contact, along with, some other individuals here, in the city of Fargo. Keep it local. But at the meantime, I do want to keep it, whereas that we can bring in some outside, entities in the future. I think that's a good thing, because you're bringing in a different genre of people along with what we have, And I think is that we can do things together. And I think it'll be a benefit for North Dakota, even more so for Fargo. So, that's my plan, in the future, because I knew there were some concerns in regards to what we wanted to do. So we're just going to just keep on tugging away and go from there.
And then, so to expand a little bit as well, the consultation group that we had prior to, we've asked them to come back and help us out for this year to give us a plan moving forward as well. So reach partners who, like Caitlin Christie, did a lot of work with, we have asked them to come back and help us make the celebration in January an event.
I would support the idea of staying local, because I think the last 2 years have indicated that we have an incredible amount of local talent.
We do.
That needs to be showcased as often as we can. And I think the other strong suit of the last 2 years was the community members who stepped forward to help with planning the event. So I want to make sure that we extend that forward to the planning this year. Because there was there was a lot of really great energy, particularly in the 2022. So that would be my expression of support, that we don't recreate something that's working well.
Chairman Severson, I also want to add that we're also trying to coordinate with the Fargo Youth Commission because they also have an event, and we would like them to co-partner with this event as well.
Absolutely.
Any other comments or questions?
I would also recommend that we loop in like those of Fred to be part of organizing.
I think that we confirmed that on Wednesday, we're having a meeting with Fred Edwards.
Okay.
Well,
Okay.
yep. Yeah, to get his input on how it should go. Okay.
I'm just confused because the last 2 years, the MLK thing was done by Fred and Faith and Barry Nelson group and all that. So what changed and why are we looking people coming outside of Fargo when we have so much talent and so much community people who are supporting things that are done locally?
And from my understanding, it was so during the pandemic, we had brought in the Human Rights Coalition and those other partners to enhance what City of Fargo was doing. And then now that we have the DEI director, we were trying to bring that in again to just City of Fargo and try to have it here. If you want to have a discussion though on the other approach, we can. But and then because I know there was just Dr. Hogan had found some other options for entertainment as well. And it's just been talked about and brought back to the city of to Fargo again.
Well, I just want to keep things locally, and I know people have enjoyed it. We have learned so much. It was entertaining and learning and all that. So I don't understand why we are looking outside when we have so much within us. But again, as you said, it's open for discussion. So we'll see how it goes.
Well, I don't think it was an oversight or it wasn't really focused on looking outside.
Right.
I think it was just an opportunity that existed with this group, and it just presented itself. But the idea of really looking into local groups that can do the same thing, it's still a discussion. So it wasn't really focused. That's what I just want to say.
Okay, I'm gonna go into the announcements, and then I think Sarah had some comments to make on our contraceptive conversation.
Yeah, I'm not really sure how to proceed on this. Is we have a proposed motion, I guess, is the first thing that I should say. And I think sort of leading into the motion, which is to support of contraceptive coverage for Fargo City employees. I've had a chance to think about this way too much in the last month or so. So I just wanted to sort of, I guess, take an opportunity to talk about how important it is to have contraceptive coverage for employees, health insurance options. It's my understanding that, so I have a statement that I'm just going to read through, so bear with me for a minute. It's my understanding that the City Commission is largely ready to approve this coverage, which makes maybe the resolution or a motion showing support seem maybe like a waste of time to some folks. But it's not a done deal yet, and I think it's important to consider this resolution as a show, or this motion really just as a show of support for that decision should it come to pass. And I think it's especially important to consider this from the perspective of our Human Rights Commission and as a part of our mission to provide leadership, education in the area of civil rights and human rights, and to identify those areas that are of concern to the public. So I think of access to contraceptive care as basic health care. I think most people do, and health care is a human right. According to the United Nations, the right to health is central to one's autonomy and agency and key in the realization of our rights to equality. I also believe that access to contraceptive care is a civil right, and I'll explain why. By providing contraceptive coverage, the City of Fargo affirms the human rights of city employees and their families. And to my mind, access to contraceptive care is a human right because of the tremendous impact it has, or unintended pregnancies have on women, on children, on families, and on our communities. Pregnancy and childbirth is dangerous for women, for their health. It's dangerous for their safety from violence, and it's dangerous for their equitable treatment in the workplace and in society. And I think by providing contraceptive coverage, the City of Fargo helps protect a person's right to determine their health and to decide on the number and timing of the children that they might have. By providing this coverage, they protect our public health for our city from the harms caused by late prenatal care, by drug and alcohol use during pregnancy, and by increased risk of preterm births. And in doing so, I think the City of Fargo can protect people of color who are disproportionately impacted by these harms and risks. I'm almost done. By providing contraceptive coverage, the City of Fargo has the opportunity to ensure that city employees and their families can plan pregnancies, plan their families, so that their pregnancies are safe, healthy, and supported. And it helps improve outcomes for children by reducing the likelihood that they'll live in poverty and rely on public assistance. I mentioned before that I think of contraceptive coverage as a civil right as well, and the reason for that is because only women can be prescribed contraceptive care. And health insurance plans that otherwise offer comprehensive care but omit contraceptive care basically discriminate against women on the basis of gender. So it's for these reasons that I think that the Human Rights Commission should support this motion, and that the City of Fargo should add contraceptive care to their insurance options. I know that's a lot of stuff, but it's within our realm, and I think it's an important issue, particularly in the current climate for women's health. So with that, we have a proposed motion. Do I need to read it, or is it good? Okay. So the proposed motion is the Human Rights Commission supports the addition of contraceptive coverage for Fargo City employees, and it recommends that the Fargo City Commission add the coverage as designated among the more than 50 new preventative services offered as a part of the newly proposed 2023 health care benefits for employees.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Who first? Did you first?
I guess I'm moving. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, she moved in.
Thank you.
Very second.
Yeah, I'll second.
Thank you,
Okay.
Matora.
Any further discussion?
You know, I just wanted to say, when you were reading, you mentioned how it normally affects people of color. It is very weird that City of Fargo doesn't have much of people of color employed. But again, we have a lot of women, and I always believe prevention is better than cure. So, yeah.
And I think it's also important to think of not just the women that are employed by the City of Fargo, but the partners and children, adolescent children who are at risk as well. So, yeah, thank you.
That goes into trans and non-binary employees as well, and ensuring that they have
Absolutely.
proper coverage.
No, I believe the next city commission meeting, and I forget what date it is, but that's the date that they're going to vote
Monday. Yep.
on it, Monday. I totally think that we should have someone there to submit this resolution to the city commission before it's done. I think we should make a stand, and it should be a public one, and we should stand up and say, this is what we need.
Well, I'll just add, essentially, by voting on this motion, that's exactly what will happen. Yeah, it'll be going to the city commission.
I guess all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
I have an announcement too.
Yes, sir.
So Moorhead, oh, is it yours? Okay. You can go ahead. So Moorhead, what we call a more inclusive Moorhead is hosting an event in the park on Sunday from 3:30 to 6:30. So you are all welcome to join in there. We'll have a lot of food, dancers, and events will go on all day. We'll have all the Moorhead mayors to speak there. So you are all welcome to come. It's at the Gooseberry Park.
That's what you have for.
You have
I'll
the
try
address?
on our Facebook page as well. Yep. I'll try to do that tonight.
You have the address on?
Yeah, I emailed it to everyone. I was just gonna bring that up again, but thanks.
No, tell them the address.
Oh, the address. It's at Gooseberry Park.
Is there a physical
You want the
address?
full address?
Yes,
122nd Avenue South, Moorhead.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Dr. Terry, you said there will be a cleanup for International Market Sunday. What time will that be?
At 3 p.m.
3 p.m., okay.
And could I just jump on that? I would just encourage all of us. I did stop by the International Market shortly after hearing about the graffiti, and I think it's really important, and Fauzia did talk about the importance of community support during this time and how frightening it was to herself and the tenants to have this where they were being targeted. So I think simple matters of stopping by and demonstrating support. There's also a fundraising effort. It's not only the delicate task of refurbishing the paintings, which I know Plains Art is offering to help with, but unfortunately, as a result of this, I know Fauzia said that she's wanting to purchase at least 30 cameras externally. So that's pricey, but it's necessary after this event. They have a lot of cameras inside, but none, or only one on the outside. So, we can extend the word that financial support helps during this time as well. And then I had one other announcement, sorry. I just wanted to mention that coming up on October 14th through 16th is the 5th annual North Dakota LGBTQ Summit. It's going to be held in person in Mandan. This year, it's open to members of the LGBT community and allied groups as well. So you can find it under ndlgbtqsummit.com, and the details of the summit is there, and registration is now open.
And with that, the FM LGBT Film Festival is going on right now through the weekend at the Fargo Theater, so that's fun as well. Anything else, folks?
I do have a question, because we voted on the motion for the contraceptive, the insurance thing. And now I have a copy of this resolution that Sarah had. Does everybody have that?
I have physical copies. I'd emailed them, but I wasn't sure whether to distribute them, given this, I wasn't sure about the relationship between the motion and the resolution that I drafted. so.
And I just wanted to make a clarification. The motion that we voted on was that to actually have somebody present this resolution and read it out to the commission, the city commission on Monday.
Or is this that?
No.
Then who is going to do it?
The proposed motion that we ended up doing is just to send so City Commission has a statement in front of them now. It's not to, if somebody wants to read that in public comment on Monday, they can. But
I would like to make a motion that we actually present it in the meeting, have somebody read it, and make a public face to our commission. Because it's one thing to send it to them by email and have it in front of them, and it's another thing for us to actually physically show up and read the resolution to them and make a point of doing it.
We have one right there.
What?
See, we have one commissioner right there. City Commission.
But to
Would you like to go and read it?
be active, I mean, I would.
Okay.
I just wanted to actually make a point and be visible.
Okay.
For us to be visible and say, this is where we stand. Because we don't do that enough.
Sure.
Matua should do it. I volunteered Matua to do it.
No. I can do it virtually. But no, I won't be
Well, I heard
around, but
Cheryl volunteer.
Cheryl volunteer. I
So-
probably
I-
would have Sarah do it since she is the one that
Wrote it, but,
wrote it. So she can probably speak to it more clearly.
and like I said, when you asked the question, I said, well, yeah, I would. But
Okay.
it doesn't necessarily have to be me. I just think that we need to make our presence known.
Okay.
So I make
Are
a
you
motion.
good with that?
I do not want to be volunteered.
more of a thing that we can just volunteer to do.
This was
You came up with
You
it.
guys should do it. So I should
So
do it.
I'm trying to understand, because the original was for the commission to have, and Denise to, it would be part of the agenda. So this is an addition for someone to go read out loud? Is that what
I don't think if we, I don't know if we can make a motion to volunteer somebody to do that.
Because I think it would just be public comment then, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, that would be in public comments. You're
Because
welcome.
I have
Absolutely
attended
welcome.
commission meetings where people from other commissions and different things have stood up and said, this is what we did. And I'm trying to think, I know we did a resolution on, it's been a while since we did a resolution.
Because otherwise, what I was saying is, Commissioner Colbeck, that's, her duty to,
Right.
as a liaison, to actually
And
read
so-
out something that went
sorry.
through here.
We now have liaison report outs at the end of every commission meeting, and that's where I will be sharing this motion that was made today with the entire commission. There's a new process. Yeah.
Okay.
But you're welcome to share that resolution during public comments in the beginning.
Yeah.
I would
just-
ask you, Cheryl, if you would do that on our behalf, and I think that would be,
I would do it. I have to make
acceptable.
sure I put it on my calendar and take care of my standing Monday thing. I just think that we need to start making our presence known.
Okay.
Okay.
Sound good?
Nice.
Any other business? No. Hearing none, this meeting of the Human Rights Commission stands adjourned. Our next meeting is scheduled for October 20th at noon. Thank you
Did
all.
you skip the stat?